Second.
Everybody got my minutes, right?
Yes, I just received
Okay.
them.
So they, okay, I think I spelled Galucci's name wrong.
Terrible. I was very upset.
Yeah.
So, there's a second, right?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Yeah.
We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, I stopped bringing mine because there's no virus in it.
Anybody not take minutes yet?
Me.
Don, you up for it?
I didn't bring a pen. Or paper. Yeah, honestly, I didn't bring a pen. I'd be happy to.
You got a pen, Eli?
Oh, I got pens.
I got it.
Yeah.
Did I, since we're on, were they okay? Did you all look at the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Looked good to me.
Did they, okay.
I didn't get a chance to review them in depth,
I
but
just wanted to make sure
Sure
that I
they
didn't
were.
leave anything out and that.
good.
So I'd like to move to adopt the minutes of the prior meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look?
Do you want to do it next meeting? Because
Yeah, I read it.
I'm sure they're
The
fine,
next
but
meeting.
I'm sure you can quote me doing terrible things.
For
I didn't quote anybody, except for Kevin.
For tonight, moving ahead to try to finalize a report to the town and village boards, the town board, village trustees. There was another draft of the report which was circulated, which included the information that I received from the other two unions here in the town of New Paltz, as well as the information I got from Randall for the police department. And I attached that as a rider or an attachment, which I've been trying to just list all the details in the police contract. So that was attached as a rider. In addition to that, I received some information from Don. I'm sure we all read it. It's interesting data in terms of the runaway healthcare costs and how municipalities aren't really able to control the current and future liability associated with the commitments they made in the past. I guess that's a good summary of what you circulated, correct?
Well,
Don?
there was also a lot of actual examples from municipalities of exactly what they offer and what the employees contribute, and a bunch of models that that we could look at. So I think that was the most useful stuff was the tables of benefits and contributions and stuff.
Great. And did everybody have a chance to look at those? Okay. So I guess what we need to do is,
I did. You know, one thing about, I thought it was actually very interesting to have the example. But from an overview to me, I would also say that, well, many communities are much richer communities than our community. We're a quasi-rural community. People here, I don't know what the average income is. I don't know exactly, maybe one of you guys knows what it is.
I know what's in the village.
Like 50 something?
Less.
Is it less?
Somewhere
like
in the
44
low
or
40s,
something.
yeah. But I mean, that's
So when you have a medium income of, say, $44,000, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, I don't know. Probably a little bit higher. And you compare it to a town like Lawrence, New York, where you know, a medium income is $160,000. And the adults in the household are commuting to Manhattan and working big corporate jobs, and you know, they're making a lot more money than folks around here are. So in a way, I don't know if it's an equal comparison in that way, because I feel that our employees should in some way mirror our community. Not that, you know, if someone's poor, they should have, you know, very low-paid employees. But what I'm pointing out here is that we are not a rich community, and maybe we cannot afford the caliber of employees that we have, or as many of them. It just seems a little bit excessive for a very small town, not a huge population, and a median income of under $50,000 per household.
Well, what I was gonna caveat to that is that our average income, at least within the village, and I'm sure this also brings the number down in town, is artificially low because most of that census data includes students
Right.
who live
That's-
within the community.
That's why I was thinking maybe it was a little bit higher in the town.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's probably much higher. I mean, and you know,
There's
if we,
there's a lot of, you know, smaller homes and other things in the mountains that, you know, average into it.
Well, the other thing you need to think about, too, to piggyback onto what you're saying, is that as far as the government is concerned, my experience with the contracts and the union and civil service, you know, they have their own requirements as to this is the job, this is what it pays, and this is what you have to meet. So I don't know how much leeway we have as it relates to paring down the salaries to mirror the community or the median income of the community, if that's
Well,
what,
if
that's what you're
the
saying.
community can't really afford to pay the salaries that they're paying,
Then we need fewer people.
then the community needs to examine what their needs are and address the needs of the community and what people here who live here and pay taxes need
You can afford.
and can afford.
I see three components to that. It's wages, benefits, which includes the amount of personal days, holidays, vacation pay, sick days, etc., and then healthcare costs. So I see those three buckets
Right.
as things that we're trying to work on here,
Right.
and should try to identify a model that will work going forward, because in the information that I reviewed that Don circulated, the municipalities have made what we can now characterize as outrageous commitments to employees in the past. It may not have appeared to be outrageous then, but one example was somebody working for 6 years for a municipality and then having a lifetime health insurance package that was worth over $1 million. So, and that was based upon the person's age. So these are things that we have to
That is a
consider.
very scary
We
equation.
have to consider that now, and we have to create the model to start over with. We really need to start over. It's not about trying to put a Band-Aid on something. We need to try to, if we can in this committee, try to make a recommendation as to what we think is a viable option for, not necessarily wages, but for benefit packages and insurance. And that's basically the task that was assigned to us.
And
under-
also policy.
And policy, sure.
Policy regarding the sick days or
Yep.
the.
So in that vein, I know that Amy circulated an email.
I didn't circulate it.
Oh,
You asked me
okay.
to do it, so I gave it to you.
I do have a copy. I've circulated to each of you. Each have a copy where she basically reviewed the benefits packages that are now being offered, at least to non-union and union town employees. And if you examine those benefit packages, there are categories where you might consider, under a new model, some of the daily allowances for each category to be a little excessive or a little rich. And so maybe we could talk about those categories tonight if you're inclined to. If not, we could, it depends on what you see yourselves doing in terms of making a recommendation to the boards. You want to be specific, or do you want to be general? If we want to be general, we can just say you have to look at these benefit packages and come up with a better model. Or we can make a specific recommendation as to what we think would be reasonable. So,
Well, I became, I guess the reason I went into this data and started looking to see what different municipalities do is I'm really intimidated by the task that we have. Right? I guess I'm not intimidated, I take it very seriously. And we're not blessed among us with any one who does municipal benefits as their profession. So we don't have an expert in the room. So I was trying to look and see what other municipalities do, and if we could use something as a model or something to build off of. And I came down to Randall's point that whatever model we should recommend is going to be subject to negotiation, contractual stuff. And so I wonder how much time and effort we should put into being super specific, since whatever is going to happen at the negotiation table anyway. And I don't know how powerful our document or our recommendation would be. So that kind of led me toward the general thing. But
Don, in looking at the paperwork you submitted, what I took a look at, you had a couple of different breakdowns on health insurance by state, and then actually I think one of them was by New York State, and then another I believe was by county, for a particular county, because it had CSEA, it had Union Departments, jail, and I don't know if SW was social workers or what category that might be, but I'm thinking based upon this article, Runaway Health Costs are Rocking Municipal Budgets, which you forwarded to me, it's a very serious problem, and somebody's going to have to really dig down into the detail and make some serious decisions about what we're going to be doing going forward. And my recommendation would be that we try to be as specific as we can in terms of what we think would be a reasonable package going forward, and then let the respective boards negotiate with their unions accordingly. I'm thinking that specific would be better than general. That's just my view.
So you're saying we come up with a standard set of benefits, and the boards can
Yep.
then say, this is what we've adopted, and there's no leeway, I mean, this is like not on the table.
It's still
Right,
just a recommendation at the end
It's
of
just
the
a
day.
recommendation.
Yeah.
But for example, if you have a contract that gives you 18 personal days
Right.
and 20 sick days, 18 sick days, 13 holidays, 20 vacation days, and then another assortment of personal days, I mean, it does appear when you compare what those benefits are to people in the private workforce, it just doesn't seem to be in line. To get 18 sick days or 10 personal days just doesn't seem realistic to me going forward. You have to ask yourselves, I mean, how often have you been sick in the last couple of years, and what would you think would be reasonable, a reasonable period of time for an employee to have as a benefit? And this would be a paid benefit for a certain number of days. I'm starting to look at some of these numbers, and people end up working less than 10 months a year. So that means they're off for 2 months. And I don't know anybody that's working hard right now in this
Teachers.
economy, maybe except for teachers, that have 2 months off.
well, I'm more comfortable with going specific on benefits offered, but this stuff is what I get
You're talking
concerned
about
about.
healthcare.
Yeah, I'm talking about
Yeah.
contributions and how much people should
Yeah.
contribute to a plan, and how much municipalities should. That stuff intimidates me.
Well,
And in terms of us making a specific
I'm in agreement with you
recommendation,
there, Don.
I'm scared. But
Could we
that's-
invite
the benefits
could we-
themselves, I'm okay with.
although
Could we
Amy had an
invite
idea.
somebody
We
to-
could.
Okay, yeah.
But Amy had a pretty good idea on that front with healthcare. And I think your idea was that the towns could offer what a single would get, and if you wanted something beyond that, then you would pay the difference.
And that I recommend for full-time
For a
employees.
full-time employee. That's a proposal.
So a family would pay,
So if
you
I had a
employ-
family-
You insure me,
Mhm.
and if I want to bring my family, it comes out of my pocket.
Right.
Okay.
And
That's the way it works for everybody else, doesn't it?
And maybe for part-timers, maybe we would pay a percentage. I think it's a good thing for our workers to have health insurance, and I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
that we might want to consider offering a percentage
To encourage
to,
them.
because otherwise people just let it go. They can't afford it. And I would recommend, if we could, to make it a little bit easier for our employees to have it.
I think Amy, I think Don's right. When you start treading on health insurance, it's a little bit more sensitive, I think, and a little more difficult than it is looking at a benefits package, which is more black and white.
But I also think that we don't have the facts. I would like to have a health benefits place like MVP or whoever we wanted to bring 2 or 3 people to the table. And I would like to compare apples to apples and see what the difference is between getting a single and a family. What the difference is between getting dental and not getting dental. Because if it's not a lot, I wouldn't mind it. If it's a lot, that's how we're going to adjust ourselves. We need to decide how much can we spend.
Right.
How much do we have for each employee? How much can we put into each person and not, run the town bankrupt?
Well, and I don't know whether or not the town and the village or the village do this, but do we have presently health savings accounts for employees? Probably not.
No, not yet.
So, I mean, I think that's something we could look at, because if we're going to ask people to make contributions, it should at least be pre-tax. So that it
Definitely.
has a tax benefit to them, because it reduces their take-home pay, which in turn reduces their taxes,
That's a
which means they take a
responsible way
little
to
bit,
do it.
little bit more. But the catch to that is that they've got to spend that money within the year.
So you can't just build up a bank
No,
of...
because what happens is, let's say we pay into a health savings account.
Right.
At the end of the year, we don't use it.
That becomes
You-
liquid?
No, it
You wanna
becomes,
buy it back,
it goes,
or you
you
pay
can't,
back?
no, you lose it.
Oh.
It belongs to,
It depends on what your model is.
okay, well, the
town's-
models I've been in, you've
Town's
lost
currently
it.
looking into those models, to fund the account, and there's another refinement to it. Let's say you have a $3,000 deductible that's funded 50% by the employee, 50% by the town.
Right,
The next issue is whose money goes first.
right.
So a lot of insurance companies have a preference for letting the employee's money go first and the town second. And I think statistically, they find that fewer people are going to the doctor
When they have a $300 deductible.
when they have, well, what, I have to say this, fewer people are going to the doctor for ailments that really don't require a doctor ultimately.
Right.
So it reduces the cost to the healthcare provider ultimately, because you don't have as many visits.
Right.
Now, that doesn't affect your annual visits and all that other stuff. That's still the same deal. But getting back to the numbers, we did have numbers on what a family plan costs under NISHIP, which is $1,562 a month. A single is $712 a month. And then under MVP,
Single is how much? I'm sorry?
$712 and $1,562.80 for a family plan. And MVP, the family plan's $1,923.75 a month.
So it really is a considerable difference between a single and a family.
There's a considerable difference between NISHIP and MVP.
Mhm.
The single under MVP is $714.87.
And you know what, another interesting point is that a lot of people who need a family plan are married. And a lot of people who are married have a spouse that is also employed somewhere. So maybe we're insuring people that just say to their employer, oh, I don't need that insurance, my husband
Well-
works in the town of New Paltz,
Yeah, but a
so-
lot of times, I think a lot of married couples weigh the benefits of each
Right,
plan. And if,
Right.
let's say, we're married and your plan doesn't have dental,
right.
and we got kids and they need braces and blah, 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 we'll say,
You'll take the family plan.
We'll take the family plan, and
Right.
it'll come out of mine, and you can
Right.
decline, because at the end of the day, I think the way that they work it is, when you go in there, they're asking you, do you have it, you know?
But if I could get my own, and you could get your own, then my employer would not have to pay for yours just because you thought mine was better.
Yeah, but there's a lot of situations, and I guess my family is one of them, where one party is self-employed and the other spouse has the benefits.
Right.
Or a party where you have, because of family values,
Right.
a mother who wants to stay at home for the period
Or a father.
when their
Right.
child is young. So a point that was made at one of our first meetings, and that Mayor West made at one point when he was speaking, was that people don't take municipal jobs for the money. They don't usually pay as well as the private sector, and part of what people take municipal jobs for is the benefits. So I am all for putting a stop to health care for life for a whole family without any contribution, but I also don't want to create
Eliminate.
a situation where we're creating real hardship for people,
Yeah.
who may be the only person working in a family.
And I agree with you, and I don't want to create hardship. What I would like us to be able to do is to bring what we offer into today.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Exactly.
It is unrealistic to think that the gravy boat spilleth over, and
Yeah.
we need to figure out a way to retract those costs and recapture some of those costs and say everybody in the real world today contributes to their health. We will provide
Correct.
the best health plans that this town can afford, and the expectation is that the way that we move toward the real world, or the way non-government perhaps works, is that you will now begin to have to pay a little bit toward that, because costs continue to escalate, and you the healthcare is killing the towns, the villages, and that means we're going to have to start getting rid of jobs. So there's got to be some give and take somewhere.
I think we can agree, though, that no one should receive lifetime health insurance benefits.
Yes.
Without contribution, yeah. I mean, well, if someone works 40 years for the town of New Paltz, that's the extreme example.
I would still
and they
say-
retire, they need health care.
Yeah,
And,
I would say then you give them a benefit, but that's a flat rate, and then if the premiums go up, then at least the town's exposure is limited. In some towns, the exposure isn't limited, and the insurance companies just have a captive marketplace. They just keep amping every
It's
year.
insane.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and that's what we have. It's, we can talk about insurance reform and all that other stuff, but the bottom line is it's never going to be fixed at the local level. It's going to be fixed at some bigger level. So,
I got one, but I have one exception to that lifetime health benefit. You all probably won't agree with me, but I would think it would be appropriate for our fire and our police, if lost in the line of duty and married, that their spouse perhaps would continue to receive. I mean, if an officer is killed in the line of duty, I mean, that's,
I think that's very fair.
That I
That's a
think
different- totally
we
different
could do,
circumstance. Of course.
provided they don't
Sure.
remarry.
I
so
think that's more than, that's
I mean, that's the only exception I could
a
see
good
for
thing
that.
to do.
would you all say that then our statement number 3 in our recommendations, rather 4, do you think that's good enough to use as a recommendation to the joint boards?
Part-time workers?
No, number 4.
Oh, four.
I thought we discussed if we got the super manager, that might be part of their
They-
job description.
They would be
is-
working with these two
with the
people.
committee.
Yeah. You think that's as close as we can get on healthcare?
Creative cost savings and contemporary rate structures, or
Okay.
contemporary contribution structures.
Okay.
Something,
And you want to say contemporary?
it's just a word. I mean, but
Realistic rate structures?
I just.
Affordable employee contributions, I mean, that's, I think, what we're ultimately talking about, right?
Bring creative cost savings to government.
That include
Which
affordable,
Yeah, which require employee contributions. No.
yeah, or which include, or that include affordable employee contributions.
Is that right?
Can I have a
Employee
clarification? Okay.
contributions that are affordable for the long term.
That include employee
Contribution rates that are, I'm sorry, it's just
contribution rates.
that are affordable for the long term.
But you can't necessarily guarantee that because health insurance rates fluctuate, they, you know what I mean? So I think,
So would their contribution though then?
right, right.
That are more affordable than the status quo.
How are you going to change that?
Do you know what I mean? I mean, you know, one day it could be something and then, you know.
Well, that's not, that's really gonna be something that is beyond us. It's beyond us, you know, I think
get
that's
what you
up,
get.
that's up to the village and the town to decide what they wanna do in that aspect. It's just, based upon our research, we definitely are gonna recommend number 4 then as modified. So it's healthcare broker to bring creative cost savings to government. That includes
Mhm.
employee contribution rates that are affordable, Don,
Over the long term.
over the long term.
Well, Randall had a problem with that.
What?
That are over the
Well,
long
the
term.
long, I mean,
So you-
yeah, I mean, I think our goal is, I mean, if
We just
if
say
it's
more affordable. We just say more
I
affordable.
mean, it's just, I mean, our goal, I mean, it's not like our goal is to try and bilk them out of, you know, I mean, we're gonna find the best rates that we can so that, you know, you're not paying $20 a pay period and then it jumps to $75 a pay period. I mean,
And it's really affordable to the town, isn't it?
Yeah. We need to be able to
We
afford
need-
it.
We need employee contribution rates that are affordable to the town over the long term.
I can work with that.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
And affordable to the employee.
Okay.
I had a note on a number 4 from one of the previous meetings, request bids from alternate providers annually.
Yeah, we wanted
Yeah.
to
Part
check
of the
it,
committee.
to check it.
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
think I
I-
included that in minutes I think that's in the minutes that, because
Which I've received but haven't read
Yeah,
yet.
we did the committee, I think we added a committee to look for,
Okay, so it doesn't need to be
That's
part of number 4. Okay.
So number 4 says establish an advisory committee to interview on an annual basis at least 2 proactive health care brokers to bring creative cost savings to government. That includes employee contribution rates that are affordable to the town over the long term. That's how it
Okay.
will read.
You had the revised one, I had the original one, so okay, got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
That works.
It works.
Okay? All right.
Can I just like bring something up, and it might take us off track, so if it starts to, let's just rein ourselves in.
I got an off-track one too.
Okay. But, you know, like, the idea of taking down healthcare costs is because healthcare costs rise in very dramatic fashion over year to year. I mean, that's the understanding that I've gained from, you know, being on the board for the last 4 years. 19%, 15% every year. So as we pull away these benefits, then we're reducing the amount that we're paying our employees. The benefit of paying them salary is that the cost of inflation, the cost of living, goes up at a more steady rate, and it's an easier cost to control and match as things become more expensive and the price of the dollar, the value of the dollar changes. So, I mean, as we're pulling these healthcare costs away, are we going to give consideration to paying the employees more? Do we think that they're getting paid too much altogether? Or, I mean, because if we're saying, okay, well, you need less benefits, but we're going to pay them the same salary.
Benefits aren't taxable though. If you paid more money, you
Right.
have a tax consequence on that.
Okay.
So I think your idea is a good idea, but it might go the other way.
What do you mean?
If you're trying to pay them more money
Right.
to make it more affordable for them to afford health insurance contributions.
Right.
Then really you're taking and giving them $2, which the government then you give them $4, the government takes 2,
Right.
leaving them with 2. So there's really no net benefit to the employee or the town in that. You might be better off giving them $4 toward their health insurance.
just in their health care. But if we're pulling away their health care,
But I don't think we're pulling away their health care. I think what we're
we're asking them
doing
to
is
contribute to it.
Well, you could then negotiate, Brian, you make a good point. You could negotiate your contracts on the basis of increasing the town's contribution to the healthcare piece of the benefit package versus increasing the salary.
But isn't that just where we're heading
Or
back
maybe,
to where we're
or
going,
maybe,
where we are now?
or maybe where the employee pays some of it until we really decide that this is going to be an employee that we want to have for a really long time. Because I feel like with this town and this village, the way we have employees, it's like we're getting married to each and every one of them because they have a lifetime of benefits with the town and the village. And I personally would really like to see how an employee operates and how they get the work done and how they are in a work situation and how they get along with the other employees and how efficient they are. And if I get complaints about them and if they call in sick all the time, and there are all kinds of things that I need to get to know about an employee before I want to get married to them. So perhaps we could make them partially pay until they're there for 3 years or they're there for 5 years, and then we say, hey, this is an employee that we've all decided based on evaluations that hopefully we're going to start to do after consolidation. This is an employee that we should reward in the town of New Paltz, and this is somebody we want to keep. So maybe we could have a 2-tiered level where we want to go the extra mile. I don't know if we can.
Well, you know, the other thing too is that, you know, we focus on the health care as the benefit. You know, I mean, I sit and I look at some of the other stuff that they got here too, and it ain't cheap, and it's stuff that we're giving away that's a pretty penny that I think is more generous than what other places.
Can you give examples?
Well, you know,
go through
like
the list.
16 holidays for
Right.
I mean, you know, where is it? 13 holidays for,
Everybody.
well, yeah, but you know, I mean, I certainly didn't get Good Friday, and Easter Sunday wasn't counted as a holiday, a paid holiday for me.
You don't work Sundays. If people work Sundays.
I've always
yeah.
worked Sundays.
Yeah.
But you're saying that
But I mean, what I'm saying
it's
is
a
that these
paid
are
holiday,
these
even
are
though you're
pays.
not- It would be,
Yeah.
a Sunday, you're not working anyway.
Yeah,
For the most part.
I mean, there are
If the office is
stipulations
closed.
there are stipulations in here that, you know, a full-time employee, and I'm not going to call it, you know, will receive 1 additional day's wages for each of the holidays listed above,
Right.
whether or not the person works on the holiday.
So if you work in the office and
You
the
know what I
office
mean?
is closed,
I'm just,
you're getting
like,
paid for
Yeah.
Easter Sunday
Yeah.
when you wouldn't even be going to work anyway that day.
So Randall,
So it's like an Easter bonus is
no
what
more-
it is.
So that's why I'm saying, you know, the conversation about eliminating and not eliminating health benefits, but
Right.
making them more cost effective for the taxpayer, because that's ultimately what we're doing. We're not trying to, I don't think we're trying to, like, let's get the employees that work for the town and the village. What we're trying to do is let's make our government more affordable for the people who have to pay the bill. And let's find ways to save money so that we can do that without harming our employees and
Right.
saying, hey, look, we're not trying to make you lose your job. We're trying to keep it so that you can keep your job.
We want to get it under control.
And bring it under
so we
control
can stay in
so that
business.
it's manageable, so that we have a business for you to come to do your work.
Right.
so we're talking about the two things we're talking about are the 2 things that we have to finish.
That's correct, and then I have the other thing that's off track.
And we talked about item 4, which is what we're going to recommend on the health insurance. And I think Don's correct. It's a more of a nebulous, bigger issue that's going to take more time for the towns and villages to work out. terms of what they're going to offer employees for health care, but certainly with respect to the personal days, holidays, and vacation policies, I mean, we can definitely have an impact with making recommendations in those categories.
So the 13 days is for everybody, even?
I'll tell you what I have. I have a total of 4 employee baskets here, or groups.
Mhm.
And one group is 14 holidays paid per year. The next you just read, which was 13.
Mhm.
And then I'm seeing another 13, and then another 13. So we have 3 13s and 1 14 holidays.
I mean, I look at this, Lincoln's birthday, that's a president, it falls under President's
Well,
Day.
let's go down a minute
Good
by minute.
Friday,
Holiday by holiday.
New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday observed, Lincoln's birthday, President's Day, Good Friday, Easter Sunday, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day. Now,
That seems kind of religiously
Christian,
biased.
yes.
Yeah,
It's awful
well,
Christian,
well,
isn't it?
but here's,
Yeah,
but
like,
here's,
I'd like
but
to hear
but here's,
Yom Kippur.
but here's where I'm going. In the business world, you get 10 days, and those 10 days don't include Columbus Day, Veterans Day, which enables you to, for Christians, they can take the day after Christmas,
Right.
or you can use it for Yom Kippur,
Right.
or you could use it for Rosh Hashanah, whatever you get 15. I mean, you
can pick your own.
You get you get them all, but you don't. The office is open on Columbus Day, and the office is open on Veterans Day, and those 2 days usually are floater days that and some people don't even take Martin Luther King Day, but they don't necessarily give that as a floater. But you take Veterans and Columbus.
You could just give them X days that they take,
And they can pick their
Yeah.
own.
whatever
Right.
they want.
Yeah.
Instead, I'd feel better instead of Easter and Christmas to have 2 religious days, non-denominational, to
Right.
take when your religion
Right.
celebrates their holidays.
Right,
You know,
and everybody's entitled to 8 days or 6 days or whatever
So-
we decide.
Well, why
and-
don't we just do like post office days? The government
I would
holidays.
just give them,
Well, that's all the ones
Is
that I
that-
called out, except for
here's what I have with the town here.
Good Friday.
Okay.
The town has New Year's Day,
Okay.
Martin Luther King Day,
Right.
President's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Yom Kippur, Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day. This is a great one. Day after Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, that's a good day.
It's Black
That's a nice
Friday.
holiday.
You
isn't it?
need
It's my favorite day.
But see, that's where
Here's what you get, though.
where your
Christmas, you get half a day for Christmas.
yeah.
For Christmas.
And New
Day.
Year's
You get-
Eve.
And then you get Christmas Day. And then you get half a day for New Year's Eve. And what's interesting, it says, if Christmas Day and New Year's Eve day fall on a Thursday, employees shall have the subsequent Friday off instead of the half days before.
That seems
Generous.
Well,
nonsensical. I feel like a lot of this just needs to
Maybe-
to be sense.
Maybe-
It doesn't have to be. Like we don't have to be extremely generous. We don't have to be extremely frugal. But I think that, I mean, clearly that is just it doesn't make any sense.
all right, so what days do we recommend? Let's make a
Why don't
recommendation.
we just recommend X days? They can choose.
yeah, and they pick, and then if they need more, they can take it out of their vacation.
Right. That's what vacation's for.
Yeah.
They can choose, but they would have to apply some of them on days when the office was closed, such as
Well, right.
Independence Day.
Well,
You know,
maybe we would give them things to do at home. I mean, maybe there's other things that they can do.
on the 4th of July.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what they
Yeah,
pick.
yeah.
I mean, listen,
You know,
there's still, the town and the
always work to
village
be
are still
done.
happening.
Yeah, well, sending people home with it? You think that's-
No, they could come into work on July 4th if they didn't want that as a holiday.
There's always work to be done, but what scares me is, I want to take, this is my,
But
instead of taking my holiday for Christmas, I'm taking my Christmas in July because I want to, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
It's a little
think,
silly to think that somebody would actually sit in their office on Christmas Day and really be
Right.
working, because
And
even
be-
if
right.
we're pretending
they're-
to work. I don't think
they're
they'd
not
really be
gonna-
working.
if the
And
office is
I think it would be
closed,
human
they can't
nature
get
not to
in.
really
You won't-
be very
I'll-
focused on those
the
days.
The facility will be closed.
Well, why don't we
Yes.
say the bank holidays they take, plus however many left over to
Right.
get them to 10?
All right, so bank holidays, how many are there?
Well, they usually take all the federal holidays, except I don't think they do Columbus
Well, Columbus would be out. I don't think Lincoln's in there
and Veterans.
because President is one now.
Yeah, there would be no Lincoln. There would be, I mean, at least over here, there would be no Columbus.
And honestly, I would really appreciate.
Good Friday would be
if
out.
Good
people
Friday would
and
be
Easter
out.
Sunday would be
were
out.
Reflected, I think, that we're in 2013,
Out.
and
Is
I
there
think
Christmas
we
in
should-
school is
there? Right?
closed.
Christmas,
I think-
Christmas,
Thanksgiving,
And
Veterans.
everything
Christmas
is
is out.
closed, and
It's not a
I
federal, is
really
it?
think
Yeah,
that.
Christmas is a federal holiday.
in the
Thanksgiving
year
is a federal.
2013, we have to
Veterans and
include
Columbus Day
all
are
people.
federal
I
holidays.
think. the
So now we're looking at
board should be
10.
doing X number.
And they pay
One,
it.
two,
choose.
3,
I agree.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's correct. And what I was saying is in businesses that I've worked in, Columbus Day and Veterans Day, offices were open because people tend to still do business
Well,
on
maybe
Columbus
people
and
are off
Veterans
of
Day.
work and it's a good day
Those
for
are
them
the
to come
two.
in.
Those are the days that were reserved for you to take for your own
You can
religious
pick and
holidays.
choose.
And you still got Christmas and you still got Thanksgiving, but you were showing up to work on Columbus Day and Veterans Day, and if you needed it for Easter, Good Friday, you know, the Rosh Hashanah, you know, whatever the Jewish holidays, you used the labor and the Columbus Day. So the office would be open, and you could substitute it for the day after Thanksgiving or the day after Christmas, or you could take it for your own religious holiday. That's
And you
that's
could-
how I
you
would
could
work it.
always take the day and not be paid for it.
That, yeah, you
Correct.
could do that.
That's what vacation's
says
for.
paid
Right.
If you
So if
you
you
want to
need an
have
extra
your
day at Christmas time,
you want to have that day after
Just don't get
Thanksgiving.
paid.
That's what you got vacation for.
right?
That's fair.
So then,
Yep.
Right?
That's
do
very
you
fair.
recommend then maybe a global package which says you have X number of days a year to take off, you choose how you want to do it?
I would say
Where we combined holidays,
Everything.
vacation, personal days, everything. Everything.
I think that would be a nightmare. I personally, I think that would
Could
be
be a scheduled
nightmare with people
Right.
coming in. Well, you know, and then you become like vacation
I'll be
day.
gone for the month of November.
Yeah.
Using all my time for the year.
Yeah.
I know my father, his job they do that, and then based on seniority is when you can put it in.
Right.
So then eventually, like, I mean, I'm sure it's still a scheduling pain in the ass, but you know, then you pick and choose, and then you
I
eventually
actually really like it.
grab your days, and then
kinda
whatever
like
you
it.
can set up your little vacations around the year,
Right.
which is kind of nice for him.
I think our employees.
And I think people get
But-
sick and they shouldn't count on their sick days to go away.
Well, yeah, sick days are sick days, but I think
Well, the last thing you want to do is to lie about being sick to use a day.
That's why I think you should have. I mean, I see your thing here where you say no personal days. See, I think you should have personal
You
days.
can use a vacation day.
Yeah, you can, but that's not vacation. There are things. I mean,
I know things come up. I know
things come up
sometimes. I know.
that are unavoidable. You have
So
an
call
infant
it a
and your
sick day.
daycare, and your
So it's a sick
daycare
day.
is, but that's not really a sick
When's the
day.
last personal day you took?
I'll tell you when I've taken personal
I'm
days.
talking about paid time off from work.
Well, I haven't worked. I haven't worked in, you know, but I'll tell you the instances in which I used personal
Wait.
days. I would use personal days when I had a house closing.
Sure.
I would use
And you
you
can
know.
still take it, but I'm not going to pay you. If you need to take the
Oh, so
day,
3 personal days unpaid.
just go do it. Just go do it. But
That
you're
makes-
not going to get paid that
that
day.
makes you do
I
your
can't afford to
personal
pay
stuff very
you
efficiently,
while you're
too.
closing on your house.
You could do
That's
it
your
at 9
investment.
Instead of doing that 2 o'clock closing, she makes a good point, you do it at 9 a.m. and you go back
Correct.
to work.
Well,
That's
you
right.
don't. Well, yeah, you can, but you're at somebody else's mercy when you do a scheduled closing.
So you take
I
a
mean,
personal
it's
day and
not-
don't get paid.
You know, yeah. Listen, I don't have any objection to that. I'm just trying to.
Listen, I really care when somebody's mother gets sick and they have to drive their mother to the doctor. And you know what? Maybe they have to drive their mother to the doctor. I understand that. but I don't have to pay them to drive their mother to the doctor. Let them take the day off, they don't get paid, and they take their mother to the doctor. They gotta do it, it's an emergency, do it.
But you also have to think about the fact that, you know, in my instance, I was salaried, so I got paid whether I worked 15 hours a day
Okay.
or whether I worked 8 hours a day. So I could work 15 hours a day and say, you know what, I'm coming in at 11 o'clock, and nobody would give two hoots.
I
But
have a
you've got
recommendation.
people who are
Right.
hourly
Well,
employees
maybe there'll be an
who perhaps
opportunity.
can't afford to
Well,
take that time.
maybe there'll be an opportunity where somebody else called in and they're a little low on making money that week. I'll sub, I'll come in.
Then it's overtime.
Let's
But
look
me,
at
but,
this. Let's
see,
look
I'm
at this.
not sure it has to be overtime.
Starting
Or if
with
you've worked
page
40 hours a
5.
week.
But if you didn't, because you took that day off to take your mother to the doctor, it didn't count towards your end of the week, your 40 hours. You only work 32 hours. So then you're gonna wanna volunteer to help out.
Okay, but if Randall has to take the day off and we both work together, and I've worked my 40 hours and say, well, I'll cover Randall's shift, or I'll stay a couple extra hours.
But you know what? Maybe Don's part-time and he wants to work more. And maybe I'm only gonna let you work 40
Yankees are playing
hours.
tonight. I'm watching the Yankees.
And maybe I'm only gonna let you work 40
Here's
hours.
what you have, guys. Can I just,
Because that's all I could afford. Because I can't afford this overtime.
here's what you have.
Sorry.
Page 5, column A. Go to page 5, column A. And maybe this puts it in a different perspective, okay? So the maximum amount of time that you get off right now, paid time, if you're a 1 to 5 year employee working for the town on a non-union basis, is 47 days. If you
2
are
months.
if you are a 5-year veteran to 10-year veteran, you get 52 days. And if you're working more than 10 years for the town, you get a total of 57 days off. Now, does that put it in a little better perspective? So 47 days would be 9 weeks. 9 weeks and 2 days, right? 52 would be 10 weeks and 2 days, and then 57 would be 11 weeks and 2 days.
Now that's if you took every sick day, every personal day, every holiday.
Everything that you're entitled to.
Now, and if you don't take what you're entitled to, you can cash out and get money for it in the end, if I'm not mistaken.
I think some of the programs allow you to do that and some don't, but
And 104 days of the year are weekend days, right? 52 times 2.
these are,
Right,
yeah.
so then you get your weekends on
you get
top
So
of that.
weekends plus
Yeah.
57.
So you get
Right.
nine weeks off if you're a 1-year employee, 10 weeks and 2 days off if you're 5 and more, and then 11 and 2 days, 11 weeks off.
Thank you for this
11
math.
weeks.
Yeah, I
It's almost 3 months.
I mean, you work. My sense is skewed when it comes to time off, because I know, for example, at HBO, it was like I started in the place and I had a month's vacation and I had unlimited
But
sick
you were
leave.
working, but you were
So-
working as an
You-
executive in a big company.
couldn't take all that time and do well in your job.
No.
Because
No.
you would not get the
Wouldn't
good
be there enough.
evaluation.
Right.
You would not get
You wouldn't get the
promoted.
promotion. You
You
wouldn't
wouldn't.
get your bonus.
Right.
You would go on vacation and you would take work
Right.
with you. I
And
mean,
you
it's
stay
just
late at
the
night
way
because
that
you want the boss to notice that
do.
you're doing a good job and you care.
Yeah.
So in corporate America, those benefits can be an illusion, especially if you're young
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in
yeah.
entry-level positions, because you want to make an impression.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be thrown out there, and I'm definitely on board with what we're doing here. But for perspective, a lot of the people who are represented by those numbers are people who work hard physical jobs. They're Department of Public Works, and they're police officers, and they're people who are physically grinding jobs. So, you and I mean, HBO is not that. So,
Right.
So that's just some pushback. I just think
No, I
someone at the table
appreciate
should throw that out there, But
I
But
think-
57 days off.
I mean, I
I can't go with that.
I think we go, the question that I have, for example, is, the vacation policy, 1 to 5 years, and I don't, haven't read this in a while, but let's say I start working for the town tomorrow, and I work for 2 months, but I tell you that, oh, I've got a 10-day cruise scheduled with my parents next month, and you hire me because you like me and you think I'm going to do a bang-up job.
Right.
I walk in and I take 10 days without it accruing, and then, boom, I come back
Wait,
from
but I'm not going to
vacation.
pay you for those 10 days.
That's what I'm asking.
I'm not
Well,
going
That's
to pay
you.
you.
I'm asking if
You
what
would
the
get-
town
You would
would
get
do.
10 days off if you're a first-year employee, so. as
Right.
long
Well,
as you
see,
do-
that's that, and I'll tell you, I had an experience like that when I worked in the law firm. in
And I really have to
Washington.
like you a lot, because if you were going to come to the job and tell me that you were going to be
Right.
leaving in 3 weeks
In
for
3 weeks
10
for 10
days,
days.
I would probably say, come see me when you get back.
Right. Well, see, but that's what I'm saying here. You come in and you get 10 days, and then say I come back from my vacation, and I turn out to be a total a-hole, and then you end up firing me, and I've got
Well, that's why I wouldn't pay you for those 10 days.
But that's you. That's not how it's working here. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't work that way. And what we need to be thinking about is we need to be thinking about an accrual method for all of this leave, so that you show up and you might get 10 days in year 1 through 5, but trust me, your first month, you may get a day. Because you earn this leave over a specified period of time. It is not shoveled at you when you walk through the door and say, welcome to the town of New Paltz or the village of New Paltz.
Correct.
Here's your job. You automatically get 10 days, and you know what? You could come to me tomorrow and say, I'm going for 5
You
days.
really
'cause
should
I-"
have to maybe
So don't
work
you
like
think
8 or
first-
9 months.
First, how many months before you get your vacation?
Well, first of all, I think you should not be allowed to take vacation unless you've been on the job for 6 months. That's caveat number 1.
I like that.
Caveat number 2 is you accrue a certain amount of time towards your vacation with every pay period. So you start work, and you may get whatever you need to do to come up with the 10 days over 365 days for 52 weeks in a pay, what is it, 50, how many, it's 26 weeks in a pay period if it's every 2 weeks. You calculate what that needs to be so that it comes out to earning the 10 days or the 2 weeks for vacation. And maybe, who says it has to be 10 days?
Yeah, let's not take that as for granted.
Right, it could be 7 days.
And what sometimes happens is when someone's hired, you'll accrue, say, a half a vacation day for every 6 months, or every 6 weeks, whatever the period is. After 6 months, you will then have 2 days vacation. After 9 months, you will then have 4 days vacation.
Yep.
Up to, at the end of a year, you'll have a
Right.
full week's vacation. I was just jotting in the margins.
Me too.
So we now have 13, 14 paid holidays per year. I recommend we go to 10.
Here's, I think we should get down to 5.
Okay?
I have personal days. Let's just start with A. Start with A. I wrote a number down for personal days. What would you write down?
Oh, there it is. Okay.
2, yeah.
2.
2, I would do 2. I know you.
I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't need a personal day. I just think that if
Shouldn't
they
be paid.
can't come to work, then
Paid
they
holiday.
don't have to get paid.
For holidays, I put 5. What would you think would be reasonable?
Well, that wouldn't cover the federal holidays.
I would
I
do
know.
10.
But what
Okay.
I
about
would do
but
10.
what about the holidays that are on the weekend that you're not really going to be in the office anyway?
Well,
Like Easter Sunday, for example, it's a holiday.
Easter Day is, but it's not. I think we get out of it. We observe the federal holidays, the holidays that the bank observes.
All right, so we're
and those are the 10
Right.
that are
Right.
here
But
We have the
with
low end-
floating
We have low end 5, high end 10.
Columbus and Veterans Day to be used for your Easter or for your Rosh Hashanah or for your Passover
But I think it
or
depends on the
for whatever.
employee's position, because if you're working in the office is closed anyway.
Well, yeah, the office usually close a day for Christmas. If it's on the
Right,
weekend, they'll close
right.
on the Friday or the Monday
Right.
before or after. So the weekend holidays they do fall
But
during
if
the week.
but if you're a policeman, we need those guys all the time.
Well, trust me, they are compensated.
I'm not saying they're not.
Their contract pays them extra to work on
Here's
holidays.
what we
I know
have.
that.
We have 5 to 10 there in that category. Vacation, I have 10 for 1 to 5. 5 to 10, 15, and over 10, 20. I left it the same.
I was less generous on that.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
had, for 1 to 3 years, 5 days.
okay, 1 to 3, 5.
That's 1 week.
Go ahead.
For 3 to 10 years, 10 days, that's 2 weeks. For 10 to 15 years, 3 weeks or 15 days. And 15 plus years, 20 days. So I still got up to the 20 days.
Okay, so
But
then I could
I don't think they
bump
should
the
have 2
holiday
weeks.
time up then, because
So that's what,
was
see, I see what you're doing. You're trying
Yeah.
to give them the flexibility
Right.
rather than.
sick days.
8. Okay, yeah.
How many did you, I put down a week, 5
A
days.
week of sick days.
Yeah.
5 days.
And and I think those should be accrued too, just like the vacation.
Accrued how?
Accrued. You know, you get so many, you get point, you know, I get point
This is
2 something, you know, I'd get half a day a pay period.
Okay,
know?
well, we could definitely recommend that they structure it that way, whatever's gonna be most convenient for them. What
Is
would
this
you recommend for
doctor's note,
bereavement days?
Sick days.
After 3 days, you're required to, if you're out 3 days, you need a doctor's note in order to
And-
use more.
With that number, Don, you might even consider letting them bank up to 20 days over time,
For what?
instead of bank unlimited. Right now, they can bank them on an unlimited basis in a lot of it.
Is it sick days you're talking about? Or
I'm
which
talking
days?
about sick days, yeah.
Okay, okay.
And see,
So-
I would,
So you could bank up to 20 in case you really are sick and need to be out, at least you'd have them. So that would mean if you didn't
Wait a
use
minute,
your
but you're
5,
saying you're really sick, you need to be out. If you're sick for that long, maybe you should take some of your sick days out of your vacation. I mean, if you're gonna be sick for a month,
but if we're...
then maybe you should be taking a
but if
vacation
we're
that
at
year.
5, which you would consider to be reasonable,
I do.
and the person didn't take it in year 1, but they should maybe have the right to bank them so that they'd have up to 10
For sickness.
for sickness only.
how many bank?
Maybe bank up to 20 total. I'm just throwing this out
Yeah.
because
It's not a bad idea. I mean,
sickness
if you
is a
get really
bad
sick,
thing.
like if you're
Right.
really
You
sick.
know, if you're really
Well,
sick.
you know, I don't have, listen, I don't have a problem banking sick days. What I have a problem with is banking sick days and then being paid for them.
Yeah.
Well,
I would
that's-
say let them bank, but that is one thing, that is one
Right.
penny that goes
It
away.
doesn't
You
turn
don't
into
get,
money.
it does not turn into money. You
No
don't get
cash for
paid,
days.
no cash for sick days.
Right.
Because
Because it's for being sick.
it's for being sick. You know, I could see a little cash for vacation, you know, and no cash for personal days. You know, you get cash for a certain period of time for vacation that you were allowed to accrue, but nothing for
I kind of,
banking vacation days.
I kind of think people should take their vacations. I think it's
Healthy.
very healthy for employees to, even if they stay home and do their laundry, I think it's just good to take a vacation. And I don't necessarily think that we should reward them with money for not taking a vacation. I think they should
Yeah, I
take their
agree.
vacation.
What about bereavement, Don? What'd you come up with?
Well, I had 5 days per year not banked, but I think that usually there's a distinction between immediate family members.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And,
5 for immediate.
I put 2.
Yeah. Say I would do
I don't
5
know.
for.
And if you needed more time, you could take it.
I would say 5 for immediate family, 3 for distant relatives.
I would just
Like
say
if I go
5.
for
But you
my
could always,
cousin.
you know, if it's really somebody that's very close to you, you can always take that out of your vacation time. I mean, if somebody dies, are you really gonna wanna go away for 3 weeks?
Maybe.
But going to a
Yeah.
funeral isn't exactly vacation.
No. it's
You know,
not.
I mean, it's,
Especially if it's one of your immediate family. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you think about, I mean,
Well,
if you're the oldest child, I can tell you, 5 days is not gonna be
I
enough.
said something about
to deal with
how,
stuff.
you know, if a certain employee, like, people keep dying, like, they keep dying, like, it gets out of control, then,
So Don, what was your total?
Like flies.
What
I
was
mean,
your
if
column
somebody,
total?
somebody that
If
3
you
times a
just
year,
took the
they.
days that you
that
just
die.
jotted down.
Well, what,
I came up
which
with-
value would I use for vacation?
Well, use what you had originally.
There's a whole range.
Use what
Depends
you,
on
the
You're
first
tough, lady.
term, 1 to 3.
I don't
All right,
know.
so it'll be 10, 15, 23, 28.
I had 24 total. So what we're doing is we're comparing, say, 24 to 28 over 47.
That's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
It's a lot of money.
It's like half.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
So, again, getting back to this whole idea of what we're going to recommend, we could recommend that the total days be reduced to something that's more manageable and let them figure out how they want to allocate them.
I
Maybe
really
let
like
the
that idea.
Let the unions figure out what the most efficient way is for them to allocate them with their employees.
But I think we should recommend a number.
I would
Okay,
recommend
yeah.
a number, definitely.
Okay, all right,
Are you talking, I'm talking about an aggregate number,
right.
okay?
Like if it were 26.
Right.
Find a way to bring the number down to 26. You figure out how to get there in your negotiations.
So if that was 26, and then the other category here,
I would feel much more comfortable with that being at the 26 level.
all right, so Don, the 26, and Brian, Randall, Amy, how do we get to the 20, we don't say how we get to the 26?
Let them figure it out.
Yeah, we got there. They can figure it out.
Okay, so 26, and then
Because they'll have
for
to start
somebody-
sloughing off some of
that's
the days.
1 to 3, right, Don?
Yep,
3 to 10 then, we're
Add-
adding 5,
add
that's
5.
31, right?
yep.
10 to 15,
Add another 5.
that's 36, and then 15 to 20, we're adding 5 more, right?
Yeah.
41.
Yep.
All right, so 41 versus 57, still a significant difference.
And I
That's
think
16
I think our
days
20-year
times-
employees, you know, they should be getting some good
Just
benefits.
for the heck of it, you want to just, how many employees do we have? Total?
I don't know. Is it in one of these documents somewhere?
Let's see.
While you're looking at that, one of the things that I want to talk about that we didn't, I don't think we discussed, and it goes back to item number 1 under our recommendations. Did we have a thorough discussion of perhaps buying people out of their jobs?
Early retirement?
Yeah. Paying them to go away and getting rid of their retirement, you know, taking their, you know, we'll give you X number of dollars in cash, in a check. Boom, you leave it all behind. But here's $75,000 and we're done. No retirement, no
Why
health
would-
unless you want the money now.
The logic would be if a senior employee takes that and you replace them with a more junior employee at a new tier of benefits, you're saving a lot more money, or maybe you don't replace the person at all.
Right.
And from an
And it's a
individual-
financial incentive to, you know, I mean, that's why I'm not working.
Yeah.
Although my job moved to California and it was like, go, go, go. And I was like, no, 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 give me the money and I'll get out of your
You
hair.
can do this
School
instead.
district
I'll
did
do
that
this,
twice
I'll
over
do
the
this
past 10
instead.
years.
I'll work for free.
The school district did exactly that over the past 10 years, twice.
Who?
The school district.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, and people, cash in hand as opposed to
Right.
getting it doled out over
Right. No, they
X
can-
number of years when they're retired. If you're close to reaching your max and somebody says to you, hey, I'll give you $100,000, go, you know? And you'll have a lot of people who might say, okay.
You may have to do that.
That's 100 employees, 20 an hour, times 8 hours, times 19 days.
That's almost as much as the Time Warner Construction Fund.
What's the
Right.
figure?
$304,000.
And it's just on that.
That's a low rate of pay. $20 an hour. I can't.
That's
There's
what I
very
figured
few
out.
employees who are making
I figured $20 an hour times 8 hours,
Right.
times 19 days, which is the savings between 47 and 26 times 100 employees, and there's more than 100.
There's more than 100, and they're getting paid more.
And
than
you think that the average is higher than 20?
Oh, yeah.
What
So
do you think the average
That's
is?
the village or the town?
I mean, yeah.
What would you like guess the average was if you had to guess?
I mean,
I can show you.
yeah, we have it. The Department of Public Works, I mean, somewhere around 25, probably even higher than
Take a look
that.
at
25.
these real
Yeah.
quick.
And that was an important moment in the meeting. So for people who are watching on TV, we just went through a process of trying to figure out how we could take the number of benefit days and vacation days and sick days for municipal employees and bring them down to a more reasonable level that's in line with the real world. And Kevin did a quick calculation back of a napkin sort of thing, and came up with savings from what we just talked about of at least $300,000 a year. That's 300 and 3 more zeros per year.
.00.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it still gives the employees over 5 weeks off.
And we didn't even talk about not doing overtime anymore.
No, we haven't even hit that. It gives the 1 to 3, an employee working 1 to 3 years with the town or village, over 5 weeks off, 6 weeks off, or 3 to 10, and 7 and change weeks off, 10 to 15. That's a lot.
But it's also in line with what everybody else does who doesn't work in government.
So then what we're gonna do is, in this section where we talked about recommending the base benefit package, we're just gonna list those days. 1 to 3, 26 days, 3 to 10, 31 days, 10 to 15, 36 days, and over 20 would be 41.
That's a very big savings.
Okay? I think we accomplished a lot with that.
And then you buy people out, and then you start bringing them in at these, at those numbers.
So is everybody happy with that, that data being included under sub C?
I think that is a huge discovery, and I think people need to know that.
It's a lot of money, and it adds up quickly.
Yeah.
It really does.
I wonder, and if someone like Ira was here, he'd probably be able to spin off what that would
Of course.
translate to in tax dollars. you know?
Probably.
Yeah.
Shall I
But
call him?
no, it's but
Because we'll do it.
So, moving on, is there anything else you want to recommend in section 3? Or looking at section 3 again, starting with item A1, just reviewing them again. Are there any other changes or refinements we want to make?
and I looked at but did not print out and put in this whole big thing the most recent draft of that document.
Don, you
My
want to look at this?
apologies.
Here.
Yeah, just I want to see what we're referring to because I have the original.
There you go.
I mean, I don't see how you would remove 3 people from the clerk, the treasurer, bookkeeper.
Oh, I
and
wanted to say
office.
something about that.
Please do.
We must digitize. New Paltz is in 2013.
Okay.
We're not going backwards.
Right.
We're going forwards.
Okay.
And we're moving forwards in a digital world.
Okay.
Okay? And I know you know
Right.
that everybody pays their bills online these days.
Yes.
People feel comfortable putting their credit cards into their computer.
Sure.
All we need is a good website designer
Sure.
and a very simple website where people can pay their water bills, their tax bills,
Oh, we're working on it at the village.
you know, all these things, get, you know, access other kinds of information quicker. And we could probably cut out 3/4 of the paperwork that we're currently doing.
And same thing for delivery of bills.
Yes,
for those people
and
who
postage
don't,
as well,
who aren't
besides the
digitally
postage.
connected.
But I'm talking, I want to pay a parking ticket.
Yeah, I mean, all of it. All of it should, I mean, I would say by the end of the year within the village.
So
You
the
should
girls
have
at the
something on
parking
board.
desk, they're going to be freed up if people start to pay their parking tickets online.
So let's
Well-
You're gonna have a lot more
refine
time.
item 8 then, along this line. Evaluate and upgrade information technology expertise and platform. Do you want to say for the purpose of or for purposes of? I mean, what you're talking about is e-commerce kind of, right?
I am.
Transacting business online, you know, the system we have here for vouchers it reminds me of the carbon days.
Yeah.
Where you would type into a carbon paper to get your copy.
You should be able to get your copy on your iPhone.
Yeah. So, evaluate and upgrade information technology expertise and platform to drive what?
Cost savings.
How?
How what?
By removing manual
To speed the
labor.
process of digitizing town operations.
And
municipal
it'll keep
operations.
it more streamlined, organized, and recorded.
So I think the
To streamline process of digitizing.
municipal operations rather than town and village.
Municipal operations.
And that would be both internal,
Want to say e.g.
both internal and also public, what? Public
Interaction,
Interface.
public interaction.
communications.
Why don't we say e.g.
Online bill pay.
online bill pay?
I mean, I'd love to see like college students volunteering to iChat with people that are looking at new paltz on the internet. Want to iChat about new paltz? You know, we have volunteers sitting in Village Hall that have a nice picture of new paltz behind them. Oh, you want to go to the mountain? I don't know. Get involved with our Chamber of Commerce and get a whole. You're all about that. Get ourselves out there through the internet.
Yeah, we definitely need to upgrade our web capabilities for sure.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many other towns that are, you know, putting all of their meetings, their subcommittee meetings, all that stuff you can access from the website.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
And
You should be
you
able
could
to.
even ask for donations. You could even say, if you're visiting our town, we have so many tourists. We have 30,000 tourists coming through our town daily on these big weekends.
So,
And
you're-
if they had a box where they could donate, did you
Yeah.
have a good time? Donate $10.
I would have them stop just across the metal bridge coming back from the west side of the walk hill. Right there.
$10.
Put that toll booth right there.
Right at my store.
That's right.
Can't get back in.
But Brian,
Yes.
you were making a point, and that was that you couldn't see what positions being cut?
Oh, 3 of the treasurers.
Triple I?
department.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
look at that. I mean, I had your list here, which is that whole, see that whole department there?
Right. Well, this is shy 1 employee already because.
Because you hired somebody.
Well, no, because that person. Okay, so if we're counting parking enforcement, which was its own department and it is now under
I
the
had you down
treasurer's.
as 4 full-time. What's that showing?
One of it shows 4 full time, but one of those is part time now.
Okay, so 3 full, 1 part?
3 full, 1 part,
All right, and
and then the 2 parking enforcement officers.
I didn't even touch on that.
Okay.
And then the town has 2, so total of 5 and 1, and our recommendation,
Let's remove 3. So cutting the department in half.
right. And again, if you eventually have a comptroller
Right.
or a financial director,
Right.
director of finance, that changes the whole dynamic within the department too.
Sure.
And I'm thinking that that's gonna be the
The head
most
financial
probable model
control.
in the future. We have that person with all that expertise,
Right.
and then they are more technologically savvy, and maybe you don't have the same needs for the number of people.
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I like
What else? Anything else about 1A1, Don?
I want to talk a little bit about number 7, so
Seven?
when we get there.
All right, 7. Yeah.
And 7 talks about having part-time employees of working up to but not exceeding 30 hours a week, and what their contribution to healthcare would be. And that's the part where I don't know that we have the expertise to say what that number should be for what their healthcare contribution should be. And I was thinking of tying it to some number that was knowable. And this is just one, and I just come up with this off the top of my head, that their contribution would be equal to the average contribution within Ulster County municipalities. Tied to something. Or have some sort of source.
How about if you did it the other way? How about if you said that the contribution would be the town's contribution on an average basis versus theirs?
Right.
I'm
Yeah, I just want to tie it to something. And we're not healthcare experts, so I don't know that we should come up with a number. Yeah.
So, let's talk about the category itself. How about the numbers itself? I mean, do you want to set full-time as a number, a recommendation as a 40, or is it a 35, or is it a 37? What would you recommend it as?
Is it defined as something now?
I think it's legally, it's 40.
It's all over the place.
37 and a half.
Why?
Why?
Sounds fine.
It's just shy of 40 and it's over 35.
I think New York State already regulates this.
37 and
I don't.
well, you know, again, I come
think
back
it's
where it was
regulated.
like the work period for me was 37 hours, and you
So-
got
State
half
regulated
hour for
anything
lunch.
over
Which you're
30.
They
saying-
paid you half hour for lunch.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
an 8-hour workday with a half hour off for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
It's 37 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Works for me. So that's what we're going to define a full-time employee as.
Full-time is 37.5 and more, and fewer than that, then you're strictly part-time, right?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't want to require someone to work 36
I don't
hours
know.
just to screw them out of
There might be certain positions that work a 7-hour day, or maybe in the case of manual labor, look, they can't like dig for 8 hours straight. Maybe those guys work a 6.5-hour day.
Well, I think what you do with that, Don, to solve both of the problems, when you establish the position, it's either a full-time or a part-time position.
Right.
So if it's a full-time position, you're going to be working 37 and a half hours a week, not 36 or 35, so you avoid that dilemma.
Yep, so that's fine. So part-time would be anything less than, say, 35 hours a week? Or anything less than 37.5?
Anything less than 37 and a half.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
And then, by the way, and
I
then
mean, are we hiring people at 36 hours a week and then saying, well, you can't really get
you
benefits?
probably won't do that.
I think- see,
You
that's what I
probably
think-
hire people 20,
I think there has to be
25.
a little space between the part-time and the full-time. Like, if somebody is working 35 hours, or somebody, is averaging a little bit lower than 37 and a half because they have to leave at 4 o'clock because they have to be home for their kid, but they're a great worker and they come in early.
But you
I'm just saying.
Right.
So somebody like that, who's there every single day, but this person just has to leave at 4:30 because of this commitment or whatever that
Right.
we've all decided is okay, I think it's okay.
But that's why I'm saying, when you hire them,
Right.
you hire them as a 37 and a half hour a week employee,
Right.
full-time. So if 1 week they don't do it, you're not going to penalize them because they're
Right.
hired full-time.
I think it could be a range, is what I'm saying. So if sometimes it dips to 34, and then sometimes it
You're
goes
never
over to
gonna-
42.
Yeah, you're never going to have that as a big problem. I think the problem you would have is if you create a limbo category. So if you say now that part-time is 35 or less, then you're going to have this dilemma of what happens between 35 and 37 and a half.
Right.
So you might as well just say more than and less than. And then whoever's going to develop a policy for the town or village will pigeonhole those people into a
Right.
position that says, you're required to work 20 hours a week in this position and no
Right.
more.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I guess we all feel a need to make sure we protect against someone working 36 hours a week and being called part-time, because
Yeah, that
Give
would,
them
that would not be
that's
fair.
fraud.
They
That's
would
fraud.
That
not
would
be,
be fair.
because they're hired into that position
Right.
as a full-time position.
In their description.
Just because you had to go home 3 hours
of course.
that week because your kids are sick does not affect your status.
Status as a full-time employee.
employee when you
Right.
were hired.
And you
Right.
may be asked to wake it up anyway,
Well, that's gonna be up to your boss.
right?
And the bottom
If you
line,
have a
that
boss.
happens in the world every day. That degree of flexibility is really important, but it's when you're hired that you get the label. And that's what.
It's in your job description.
That's it.
Right.
So, and then Don, in terms of contributions, do you want the respective boards to consider a contribution toward the health benefits of those people working less than 37 and a half to encourage them to get benefits or not?
Well, as it's written up in there, it appeared that we were doing so.
That
Right.
was just a thought, though. It's not that we
Well-
had to do.
And I was accepting that thought, but I didn't know how to base the number, what contribution to require. So I think it is, I think there's a moral aspect that if we can, that we should encourage people to have health care.
Right.
You know, I just think that's smart all the way around.
We want
So-
our employees.
So if the question is, should we offer healthcare coverage to part-time employees or not? Yes. But how do you do it when you're giving a full-time healthcare plan to a part-time employee? That gets really rough.
I think
You
what.
can't say you only get
And
half of the healthcare
expensive.
coverage. You get half the
Right.
coverage. You can't do
Well,
that.
the healthcare could be, cost more than they actually make at the
Well,
job.
that's why I
Right.
think what you have to do is, you have to come up with a policy that says, if you work at least X hours a week as a part-time employee, we will offer you participation in our plan, and we will pay a flat rate toward it to encourage you to get it and no more. If you want it, then you make up the difference between what we're offering to contribute and what the actual cost is.
And if you choose not to get it, if you choose not to put your portion in, you don't get the money, period.
Right.
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 And I'm
And
good
so-
with all that. I just don't know what the
and-
number should be.
right.
Yeah.
And the other question that I have is, since, I mean, you open that door and we walk through it, what happens as it relates to the other benefits? Because if you're gonna offer health benefits, then you need to sit here and we need to talk about what this part-time employee is gonna be entitled to:
Sick days.
sick days, vacation.
I don't
the-
think,
that-
I don't think you're entitled to anything.
No,
Well, what happens if
generally
you
not.
get sick? You just don't get paid?
No, and that's the
It's a part-time
nature,
job, yeah.
that's the nature of a part-time position.
Yeah, but no health benefits is also the nature.
No, but that's why we
Many
have this
part-time
moral,
jobs.
the moral hazard we're gonna avoid by having the municipality consider offering, right, a financial incentive
To
in
group insurance.
the form of a monthly stipend toward the purchase of health insurance.
Wait, but it's not just towards the purchase of any health insurance. It's
Offered.
towards our health
Right,
insurance.
to the purchase of health insurance being offered to full-time employees.
How about also adding the caveat of after X number of hours of, I mean,
Like 20 hours plus.
well, I don't know. I mean, they should have satisfactory job performance evaluations. I mean,
I
once
think-
again, we talk about.
Maybe they should work here for 6 months before.
Well, no, I mean,
Get it?
that gets us into what you're saying is we need to figure out and have some HR policy that, for monitoring these and the evaluation. So, I mean, perhaps, after the standard is you work part-time and everybody who is a part-time employee has to get a 6-month evaluation, and after successful completion of a 6-month evaluation, you are then eligible for this stipend for health benefits, because it's not cheap to set up individual employees, and then you also run the risk of enrolling people over. I mean, you don't come in and start right away with health employee. I mean, sometimes you have to wait a month. Sometimes you have to wait till open enrollment. I mean, I don't know what our plans call for. So, I mean, we need to be able to manage the expectation that just because you're a part-time employee and this is a benefit that we have, you don't walk through the door
But
and say here.
maybe we don't offer it also to seasonal employees.
How
Maybe
about this,
that's
part-time
not-
employees with at least 6 months of continuous service
Okay,
shall be eligible for.
that
I
works.
like that.
That works.
Is that all right?
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. And stepping back, just sort of stepping forward, I guess, going 2 years into the future. We have a city manager in place, and we've had these recommendations put out there, and they've been accepted and acted upon. If you're a smart city manager, this is an incentive to fill your positions with part-time employees until you have enough pressure on the unions to negotiate a new package with the benefits that we can afford. So I can really see this playing out where this is
Subtle
important
benefits.
because we may have a period of time where there's a lot of part-time employees. Because that's the real politic here. That you know, where this strategy puts pressure on the unions and the full-time employees, we better give the town a better deal in our next contract negotiation to get more full-time employees.
Right.
So I'm just kind of like the way that all plays out over the long term.
So municipalities should consider offering a financial incentive in the form of a monthly stipend toward the purchase of healthcare benefits being offered to full-time employees, and I'll reword this, to part-time employees with at least 6 months of continuous service. All right, so we'll work that up, so we have that.
Did we say successful service?
Well, I think you
Well,
said something like a performance review or
Continuous
something like
service,
that.
if you're not performing well, you're not gonna have anything continuous.
Well, that
You-
presupposes that you've got somebody who's actually watching you. I mean, I could hire somebody and say, go do your
We'll have a
job, and
city
then nobody
manager.
evaluate, you know, as long as you show up and some of it seems to be getting done, you know. Yeah, okay, yeah.
So we're gonna make that number 7
I can work with that.
as amended. Anything else? Anybody have a number 9? Because when they get intentionally back, they're gonna say, what's that recommendation mean?
Fill it in. Pick one, flip a coin.
Anything else?
Well, did we talk about cutting out overtime?
Do we know what the overtime policies are? It's time and a half, right?
Well, we figured out that the police overtime was 10%. Didn't we
Of the
figure
total
that
budget,
out?
yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, if we just cut out the overtime unless it's an emergency, then we
Well,
would be
you know,
10% ahead of ourselves.
It's
Well,
probably
it's-
cheaper to have part-time than overtime, isn't it? It's gotta be.
yeah.
Of course.
Well, I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's
you-
gonna be half the price.
Right.
using I mean, there's so many different caveats here. You know, for example, a part-time officer who works on a holiday or any part thereof, as enumerated above with double star, and that would include New Year's Day, Easter, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, shall be paid at the rate of 2 times his or her hourly rate. If he/she works on any other holiday listed above or any part thereof, they shall be paid at a rate of 1.5 times his or her hourly rate. You get down to dispatchers, and it's a full-time police officer who works in excess of 8 hours on a holiday will be compensated at the rate of 2.5 times his or her hourly rate for all hours or portions of hours in excess of 8 hours. So, I mean,
I think 2.5
Well,
times
You make a good
is a
point,
lot.
Amy. The point you're making is that here we are, we have 57 days off, and so the days we are working, we have these opportunities for time and a half and 2.5. And so.
So if we're
there
supposed to make
needs be
40,000, we end up
some
making
balance.
It's a commission plan, you know?
yeah. And that all counts toward retirement.
Right, and then even if you had a base of, say, 50,000, but with the overtime and
You walk out
your
with-
sick pay and all these things, you walk out with 75,000 and then you retire, and that is what you're going to retire on, is what you did the last, I think, 2 years of service.
Yeah, well, I think, I think part of that, just in general, is that we need to work to change the mindset that your salary is your salary, and overtime is not salary. You don't go into a job looking for the overtime, because it's not going to always be there. And I think a lot of people look at it as, I do this and I get my overtime, I work and I'll eat up all the extra hours and
Hey,
boom,
you work the system.
I have, I've got a $50,000 job, but hey, I work all the overtime I can, and I walk home with $100,000.
Well, but there's floods and snowstorms. So we're talking about DPW and police and,
Yeah.
they're
But it would be better for
legitimate,
us to have another employee that was a part-time employee, and to buffer ourselves with part-time employees than to stuff up people
be
with
on call.
overtime,
Right.
making 2 times.
Well, that's why you have comp time, right? You have comp
Right.
time as a measure
To get paid for your overtime?
no.
And there are
to-
stipulations for comp time
For
in their
overwork-
contract too.
Let's say you
Wait.
had to work 16 hours in a snowstorm.
Right.
Well, that means you just work 2 days. So instead of getting double time for that additional 8 days, maybe you just get paid the straight rate, but then you get to take 8 hours off whenever you want.
I like that.
And then
That makes sense to me.
The supervisor approval, of
So
course.
what you're talking about then is when you have a job which is seasonal in the sense that a lot of your work is concentrated because of the season, like snow plowing, maybe you could get yourself into a situation where you do comp versus overtime.
Right.
Because then you're just getting paid what you're supposed to get paid. So maybe in the summertime, you're working fewer hours. It's just an idea too.
It's a good idea. I think it's a good idea for, it's a great idea. I think to institute it immediately for existing employees would radically affect some households' incomes. Just an observation. But it's how people make their money, and they make their money off working the system to maximize tax dollars that they get paid, because that's what the system is.
But we can tighten the system.
Yep.
And make it, you can still earn it, but it's not gonna be as easy to earn it.
I think the concept of comp time is great.
And I understand that and I hear that, but we provide a job, and it's not really our responsibility to manage the finances for people or their career trajectory or their career path. If you
come to
don't,
work to
yeah,
work.
you come to work. If you don't, if you're not getting the money that you need to look elsewhere. That's the way it works.
We can hire employees that we
Right,
can afford.
who are happy to work under the parameters that we set that we can afford. And, it's
Right,
not.
you work in the apple factory for, slave wages because.
But we're
you
not
have
talking
another
about
option.
working in the apple factory. We're talking about.
I'm just
You
being facetious.
Yeah, but you come for a job. If I apply for a job,
It's supply and
here
demand.
as a police officer, and the starting salary is $40,000. I make a career choice. No one is holding a gun to my head saying, "You better take this job."
Right.
I decide whether or not I can make a living for me or my family taking a job at $40,000. I don't know what the starting salary is at $40,000, and if I decide to take it and I have an opportunity to make overtime, I will take advantage of that. But I certainly wouldn't be upset if somebody says, we've changed the way that we are allowing people to use overtime.
You'd be happy that you still had a job.
Well, I had a job, or if say, well, I can't make it this way, I got to go someplace else. So perhaps maybe I'll go to a larger police department, or down to the city, or someplace
Sure,
else.
that seems easy.
And
well,
then
but
we'll
that's
hire a
life.
new person. Is that
Right.
It's life. It's not. It's
It's not our concern, is what you're saying.
bingo. We are
Okay.
we look to take care of our employees, but
Only our employees. And when you're not our employee, or if you can't be our employee, then you're not our employee.
No, I'm confused as to what you're talking about.
No, you're saying like we have a job, it's got a salary. If you would like this job and
It's
like
yours.
this salary, it's
Right.
yours.
Yep.
And if you
Can't
don't like
do
it,
then there's other jobs out there.
No, we don't say there's other jobs out there. There are other applicants. It's not our concern to tell you
we're
that, but
one way or the other, right?
But,
Yes.
you know, if you apply for a job, if I have 5 people and you're one of the people that apply for the job with me,
Right.
I look at your skill set and whether your skill set fits what I need to do. I might offer you the job and say, this is the value that I place on this job. You have to make the decision as to whether or not Brian wants to take the job based on the value that I place on it. That's
I'm
a decision
picking up.
that
I got what you're saying.
you make. And if you come and work for me and then you find that I'm a jerk to work for, you might say, even the salary isn't enough. The salary is fine. I can't stay. Then you move on.
Right.
So, you know, I wouldn't beg you to stay. I mean, you know, it would cost me money to go and hire somebody else, but I
Just to
certainly
retrain them.
Right, but I wouldn't. I mean, it's not a.
you can pay
trying
what
to be
you can
callous,
pay. You
it's
can pay what
just-
you can pay.
No, I'm not saying you are.
It's just it's at what point does the town absolve itself of being responsible for how people manage themselves and their own day-to-day lives and finances? I mean, if we go through managing the town thinking about how, you know, we'd never make any decisions. We would never accomplish anything because it would always be, well, boy, this is going to impact this person in a bad way. So I guess we need to keep doing this because they need it and the taxpayers are just going to have to pay it. We can't,
Sure.
I can't think that way. I won't think that way. I will work as hard as I can to be as compassionate as I can in trying to make decisions that are beneficial to everybody. And I will also try to factor in the factor in that not all of the people who work and live in New Paltz work for government. And I also have to factor in that, you know, when people like us make these decisions, there are people who aren't sitting around a government table saying, well, darn, I wish I could have that too. So, you know, there are balances and trade-offs that need to be had, and me personally trying to manage somebody else's ability to manage their finances is not a responsibility that I want to take on.
How about this for number 9 then? You ready?
Yep.
Reevaluate overtime policies to reduce costs associated with labor utilization. Consider using part-time employees at lower labor rates or full-time employees using comp time rather than overtime.
I think there needs to be a little more clearance with the overtime. I think,
Approval?
yeah, I think it's just like happening too much.
So what you have to do, though, is you have to get them to evaluate their labor utilization and see where the gaps are and where they need the additional coverage that they're paying 1.5 times and 2 times for, and then consider trying to fill them with part-time or with people just getting comp time instead of overtime.
I think we have a
Right.
problem with our scheduling. And I think that it is a lot for a department head to make a schedule. Scheduling is very complicated. Believe me, it's very complicated to figure out what 100 bodies are doing or 40 bodies are doing every day and 7 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever. It's a lot. And I really believe that if we had the city manager, that possibly making the schedules with their department heads. So if you're one department head, I would go to you and we'd make the schedule together. And then I'd go to your department, Randall, and I'd make the schedule with you. And then I'd go to Brian's department. And everybody could use a manager who's trained in schedule making and into balancing these hours. It's really actually very complicated
Right.
when there's so many people involved. and when there's part-time, and when there's overtime, and
when you have so many days off.
and all the days off, and we have to cover you on your days off, and I want to cover you in the most affordable fashion. I don't want to have to go broke covering your vacation, then I'm paying you for vacation. It just becomes a runaway train.
Right.
So I believe that if we had a city manager who was an MBA in business or somebody of that type of caliber, that they would be able to assist us in this schedule making, and we would probably be a lot more efficient with our dollars per hour.
I think that's true.
I think there's a lot of waste with this overtime.
So would everybody agree that we have to reevaluate overtime policies?
Yeah, and I think we could take it a step further and require a specific plan from department heads on how they would reduce overtime by use of part-time or comp time.
So,
Here's the two tools. Put the new, which one works best for your
I think they need a
department?
workshop.
Ask
If they don't
department
have a
heads
manager, I think they need a workshop on this
to
from
provide plans for their
professional
department,
service.
right?
To reduce overtime
For
It's half the
their
problem.
Yeah.
Department,
by use of
to
part-time.
reduce overtime by use of part-time and comp time, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And we could, I think throwing sorts of numbers in is helpful but kind of bullshit. Reduce overtime by 50%. You throw some kind of
You
target in
can't do
there,
that.
but we don't know what the real world
Can't.
is. so,
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Because I don't even know if you could theoretically reduce the police department overtime by 10%. Because, it's just
Well, if they're
stuff that.
if they're doing overtime to do traffic stops, it depends what you're doing the overtime with. If they're
I said perhaps. I didn't say it
Come
could
on
be
now.
done.
All right, anything else that we would like to recommend? And if there's nothing else that we can recommend, maybe we can talk about how we'd like to proceed. I'm thinking that I can revise this document to include the changes we discussed tonight, and then recirculate it for maybe final consideration at our next meeting.
Right.
How does everybody feel about that?
That works.
when would that be?
Well, I think we should try to do it next week.
You'd like to get everything finished
Just get it done.
and sealed and in
Done.
for October?
Yeah.
What was the other date that I had offered?
October 4th.
October 4th?
Don, you're gonna be out of town.
Oh, you're
when?
out of town.
I'm back on the 3rd.
Okay.
I do know that when I talked to you last week, after talking to Dave Lent, he mentioned that our report needed to be in by the 1st of November. So we're gonna be in it, so whatever we do is that's when they're looking for. And that's, I think he's on the finance committee, right?
Who's that?
Yep.
Lent?
Dave Lent.
Yeah.
Brian, aside from that one change that I made, if you could go back through that count and just compare that count with what's current, so we have current data on that, and then maybe just fill in the blanks for the village in terms of CSEA and the other union they have there. Or the non-union, rather. It's CSEA and non-union, right? And then we could circulate that document with the final information and probably finish up at our next meeting. Now,
Would you mind just forwarding me an electronic copy of it this evening or whenever you have an opportunity?
the redraft?
Yeah, whatever the redraft
I'll send you
is.
another.
Alright. Okay.
And minutes need to go to the
Village clerk.
village
Unless we
and
submit
town
them.
clerk.
Unless we just submit them with our recommendations as like a packet.
It's a good idea.
That's
It's all
probably-
together.
That's probably a good idea, so it's complete. So, are we gonna have, are we thinking about sending our report to the town and separately to the village as well, right?
We
Yeah,
should.
I would assume so.
Should we make the requisite number of copies? What should we do?
We should do an e-file.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
and
definitely have a
forward it to
PDF of
everybody.
it, and have it available on the website. Additionally, I would say anyone who would like a hard copy, we'll give it to each clerk and say.
That means the boards will get them.
Right, both of these are available, however,
Okay,
I know
however they wanna
Ariana doesn't
distribute.
take hard copies, but.
All right, so copy to each clerk.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
So we're gonna try for this fourth, we're gonna shoot for the 4th.
Are we gonna do that at Village Hall?
Yeah,
All right.
as long as it's still open.
Then maybe we can find a place to celebrate at.
Sounds good.
Okay, the Yankees came in
So
hand by
are
the
we
first
go-
place,
we're
I'm out of
going
here.
to- We're gonna,
Did you
we're gonna
need the
finish
score?
it. We're gonna make the
Oh,
e-file,
that's-
and then we're
oh,
all
that's
going
good. In the
to
car, that's all right. Don't read it.
look at it, and
Okay,
then we're
I
gonna,
won't
just,
ruin it
in
for
case
you.
there's anything that we
But I'm
wanna.
gonna take a
We're
look.
gonna review it at the final meeting as a
Right.
final.
And then
Right.
that's
And
it,
if
and then we
everybody's-
write it up.
Everybody's gonna review it before that, when they get it from me. If you have any questions or concerns, then maybe we should do that before we meet, so we can have a final document to agree on and actually sign off on. Do you wanna have signatures down or not? Or just names, or you wanna just put our names on there like they are? Is that okay?
It doesn't really matter.
Move to
So,
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
It's top of the fourth, Don.